All right, we are live. Sorry about that. I had a little moment of hesitation. Welcome to the Southbound podcast. I almost said our other podcast, Alumni House, an NFL podcast. Hey, Chad Quacker, do me a favor, back up just a little bit if you don't mind. My name is Matt.
Now I'm the quacker.
And we are off to a riveting start, thanks to me and my scatterbrained head. All right, so this is a podcast where we talk about the NFL. Two depressed Saints fans. We're a little less depressed this week. We'll tell you why in a minute. But with that being said, Quacker, go ahead and hit us with the news and notes.
So we'll start off with some injury updates here. New England running back Ramondre Stevenson will miss his third straight game with a toe injury. Kayshon Boutte will miss his second straight game with a hamstring injury, as will linebacker Christian Ellis, and tight end Austin Hooper will miss his first game of the season with a concussion. The Jets will be without starting wide receiver Garrett Wilson, who's expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks with the right knee sprain. 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy has begun to ramp up his work to begin his return. The 49ers are hoping to also get back Ricky Pearsall from a right knee injury. I think they're hoping he'll come back this week. Brock Purdy seems like it's still kind of up in the air. J.J. McCarthy was limited in practice with yet another injury. He's got a bruised hand. I think it's his throwing hand. This guy just can't catch a break this season. It seems like. At the start of his career, he had a torn meniscus last year that he missed the whole season, and then he's had ankle injuries and now a hand injury. He's been bit by the injury bug for sure to start the season or start his career. Brian Daboll has been fired as the head coach of the New York Giants. I almost said the Jets, and that wasn't right. I forget the guy was named the head coach. The head coach now. Oh goodness. Do you remember his name, Matt? It was I'm blanking out. Mike Kafka. There we go. Mike Kafka's been named the interim head coach. And some sad news: Cowboys defensive end Marshawn Nealon has passed away. He was age 24. And then I had not heard anything about this case until this came up. Antonio Brown has been extradited to Florida from Dubai on a murder charge. He has pleaded not guilty. So now it's just a legal process that he'll have to work through here. Obviously, this is probably going to go to trial, depending on if the grand jury feels like there's enough evidence to pursue this. But I hadn't heard anything about this until that popped up this past week. So some crazy things happening in the world of the NFL. And one other injury: Travis Hunter is out for the season with a season-ending knee injury as well. I forgot that one. There was so much other stuff to kind of sort through, but looks like probably a promising career at least at receiver. That he could have, but his rookie season's been cut short. So hope for him he'll have a speedy recovery and bounce back, and come back just as effective as he was this year, if not more. And with that, that's all the news and notes we have for this week in the NFL.
All right. Well, sorry. So when you asked me about that, I had just pulled up the name of the head coach, when you said it. So
That's all right.
yeah. All right. So yeah, lots going on, and that's really obviously our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of the player who passed away. But also Travis Hunter. I agree with you, and by all rights, it seems like he's really on the way to the start of a really good career. And
Yeah.
so hopefully that and McCarthy both. Hope those things go well. Those recoveries go well. If I can find my right mouse. All right, here we go. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and jump into the scores for this week. So to start us off on Thursday, we had a little bit of a snoozer and a little bit of a surprise. The Raiders lost to the Broncos 10-7 in a weird game. I was watching it while we were recording Alumni House last week. Not too much to go into there. We're going to circle back and talk about the Saints game last. The Colts had to go to overtime to beat the Falcons 31-25, and they did that with a touchdown to win the game. NFL still...
That was that Berlin game there.
Yeah.
That NFL, yeah.
Yeah, and the NFL still has a terrible overtime, but at least both teams get the ball now no matter what, so that's better, I guess.
Yeah.
But that moves the Falcons...
I'll tell you what, that Jonathan Taylor, to me, at this point in the season, I think he has all but locked up MVP. I mean, like it's going to me, it's going to have to be a lot to happen for him not to deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's to me, he's carrying the Colts. I mean, Daniel Jones is playing well, but Jonathan Taylor is like the heart of the team, and he's what's carrying the team.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. No, for sure, I agree with that. But that moves the Falcons to 3-6 and the Colts to 8-2. Next, the Giants went to Chicago, and I kind of felt like the Giants were going to win this game. I don't remember if I said that last week, but I think I did. But the Bears win the game 24-20, and the Bears are 6-3. Obviously, as Quacker said earlier, that was the final nail in the coffin for Daboll. And then in the weirdest result of the season, the Dolphins beat the Bills 30-13. So there's that. The problem is for McDaniel is that I think because they started the season like 2-7 or 3-7 or whatever it was last year too, because they had a really bad start to the year last year, and then one either ended the season on a winning streak or only lost one of their last like 7 or 8 or whatever, something like that. I think the problem is if that happens again this year, I think his fate is sealed unless they make the playoffs and win a game in the playoffs.
mm-hmm.
I
did make the playoffs last year, didn't they?
Right. Well, I can't remember.
Yeah.
They might have, but my point is that like if they make the playoffs, I don't think that's enough. I think they have to win a game in the playoffs. But while you're looking at that, the next game was the Ravens and the Vikings, and the Ravens won that game 27-19. Neither of these teams are blowing anybody away. They're both 4-5. But the interesting thing of note here is that the Ravens are slowly working themselves into a position where we can at least talk about their playoff chances. You know, we're not there yet, but 2 weeks ago I thought they were a game or two away from them being dead in the water. So, all right. So after that, we had
the Dolphins did not make the playoffs. They were 8-9 last year, so
okay.
they missed the playoffs.
I couldn't really remember. So when you said they did, I just assumed you were right because I really couldn't remember.
It said that was the first time under Mike McDaniel that they had missed the playoffs.
Yeah, but he's only been the coach for what? Like this is like his 4th season or something.
That I don't know.
It's either his 3rd or 4th, I think. watch my brain be totally wrong, and it's like his 10th season.
No, he hasn't been there that long because he's not that old.
No, I know. While he's looking at that, the next game is Cleveland at the Jets, and a couple weeks ago the Jets were winless. All of a sudden they are 2-7. Congratulations, Jets! 27-20 over the Browns. Let me get this last game in, Quacker, before you tell us the answer.
Right.
And then the Bucks hosted the Patriots, and Quacker, this was your game of the week. And the Bucks moved to 6-3, losing at home 28-23. Always love to see the Bucks lose. And the Patriots are 8-2, probably the quietest 8-2 in the league. Because I don't think anybody's sleeping on the Patriots at all. But like every week when we look at the record, I'm like, I can't believe they only have 2 losses. So, but good game like we expected. And my game of the week we'll talk about in a few minutes was not the game we thought it was. So as usual, Quacker was right about that. All right, what do we have on McDaniel?
He was hired February 7th of 22. So this is his 4th season.
I thought it was something like that. So he made it 2 years and missed last year. So so
and more than likely we're going to miss this year the way their season's been going. So
yeah, I think there's a real strong likelihood of that. All right, well, so another game with involving teams trending in the opposite direction. The Jaguars now. They started the season really strong, had 1 loss for the first several weeks of the season. They are now 5-4, and the Texans, it took them a while to really get going. They are now 4-5, and that was a divisional game. So the Texans win that game in Houston 36-29. So big win for Houston there. And I like C.J. Stroud and D'Amico Ryans, so I'm glad. Like, I don't necessarily like Houston. Like, I feel like I'm indifferent about them, but I like those 2 guys, so I'm happy to see them, turning the ship around.
They didn't do it without
Stroud,
C.J. Stroud, for this game.
I just mean in general. I mean just
because I like Stroud guys a lot too.
And what's funny is for my fairly intense disdain. I won't call it hatred. It's more like strong annoyance for Ohio State. 2 of my favorite quarterbacks in the league right now, and people are probably going to stop watching when I say this. When I say favorite, I don't mean because I feel like they're the best. Favorite because I feel like they carry themselves well and they're respectful and mature, and that's Justin Fields and C.J. Stroud. And I hate so much that Justin Fields has, had the career he's had. But we've talked almost every week about, being a quarterback in the NFL has as much to do with who you get drafted to and what the infrastructure looks like there as it does your willingness to work hard, which is why that's unfortunate. But, I mean, the Alabama quarterbacks and the Ohio State quarterbacks, typically I tend to like them once they get in the league. Don't love Tua, don't love Mac Jones that much. I feel like, Mac Jones is just sort of fiery. So I wouldn't say I don't love him. Tua, I feel like, is starting to turn into Diet Russell Wilson a little bit. Like, so, but no, he's not as bad for sure. But anyway, and he's a porcelain doll. So the Seahawks hosted the Cardinals, and to the surprise of no one, they moved to 7-2, winning the game 44-22. Cardinals are now 3-6. The Rams went to Santa Clara and took the 49ers behind the woodshed, man. They smacked them 42-26. And I guess I kind of emphasize that too much. I guess 42-26 is not like that crazy of a score, but it's a divisional game on the road. And the Rams, I'm pretty sure they were favored, but they definitely have the better record. So I guess that's really not that big of a deal, but the game didn't feel all that close. So
this was Stafford's. I think it was his 3rd straight game with 4+ touchdowns and no picks. Like, I mean, he is, for as old as he is,
Mm-hmm.
put all that in quotation marks there, old as he is, um, dude, he's lighting it up. I mean, the way they were talking about beginning of the season, it was like, his back was just destroyed. He was gonna be lucky to make it through the season. He could
Yeah.
barely stand up, and now he's out there, fighting with Jonathan Taylor for MVP
Mm-hmm.
considerations and stuff. And it's not like Mac Jones played bad at all. I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
only had 6 incomplete passes, over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns himself. But just Stafford was just unconscious in this game. So it's
Yeah.
one of those things where, I mean, how do you stop this offense? I mean, is Sean McVay like the best offensive mind in the NFL right now? It's looking like it.
I don't know. I still think um oh my gosh, what's his name? The guy they just played. Why can't I think of the 49ers coach?
Kyle Shanahan.
I think he's the best. And I don't know. I apologize for not remembering his name. But I do think McVay's really good. Unless we forget the guy we know really well, I still would never count out Sean Payton as an offensive mind. Now, that's hard to say when they just scored 10 points to beat the Raiders, but we watched him for years and years and years. When he had the dudes he wanted on his roster, they basically were unstoppable. And I remember if a game came down to a 2-minute drive and the ball was in Drew Brees' hands with Sean Payton calling the plays, I legitimately for a decade was like, okay, well, we're going to win. And I would say 85% of the time we did.
Yeah.
Like that was the degree of confidence I had in Sean Payton and the rhythm he had with Drew Brees. So anyway, yes, I do, but I do agree with your statement. McVay is at least top 3, probably top 2 right now. I think Shanahan's probably a little better, like consistently, but yeah. So good win for the Rams there, and I think so. I don't remember. Maybe if you can look this up, I think Flacco came out in 07, 06 or 07, and I think Stafford came out in 08, 08 or 09. They're only a year or two apart. I think the biggest difference is Flacco peaked early and then sort of fell out of favor with teams, whereas Matthew Stafford was just in Detroit for all those years when they were terrible and then left when they got good. So, but he's got himself a ring, so.
Let's see. Flacco finished at Delaware in 07, so
he's drafted in 08.
Yeah. And
Stafford was right around there. Because I think Stafford was in the league at the same time as McElroy and Tebow. I think those guys all played together in the SEC.
Let's see. Is this going to tell me what I need to know? 2009 first overall pick. So
Okay.
2009 would have been his
so he's
a
year younger. Well, a year less in the league.
Yeah.
So all right,
he's 3 years younger, age-wise, but
well,
yeah.
I think they said Tyler Shuck's the same age as Trevor Lawrence, but he's a rookie.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really funny. All right. Well, the next game we have is the Lions and the Commanders. The Lions win this game. We've talked about the Commanders a whole lot this year. I mean, they're kind of dead in the water now with all of the injuries and Daniels getting hurt, as bad as he did. So, yeah. So I think the Commanders' season is probably done.
Yeah. And this was, I think this was the first game for Dan Campbell calling the plays for the Lions. I know he was calling the plays, and I think they're saying it was his first game calling. He just felt like they needed a shake-up, and it worked.
Interesting. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I did not know that. And then the game that I thought was going to be the game of the week was the Steelers-Chargers, and it wasn't. It was a really, 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 really weird game. It was 12-3 at halftime, and the final score was 25-10. And I have a good buddy who's a Steelers fan who I had invited over to watch the game with a couple other guys, And then just throughout the course of the day, we were all kind of texting, and I was like, yeah, let's just hold off. And man, am I glad I did, from my buddy who's a Steelers fan, because nobody else that was going to be there were Steelers fans. Now, I am certainly not a Steelers fan, but if it does not affect negatively the Saints for the Steelers to win a game, I usually cheer for them. So I was gonna cheer for him for my buddy Mark, but glad he didn't come over, because that would not have been fun for him. So, and then to cap off the week, another weird game, 0-0 halftime, Monday Night Football, Eagles-Packers. Eagles win the game 10-7. And it was really unfortunate because the end of this game, there was a 64-yard field goal attempt, which would have been the longest in Lambeau history, and he got a warm-up because they went to freeze him, and he kicked it anyway, and the commentators were talking about how you're not really supposed to do that, but it's not a penalty. The refs just didn't stop him in time. Well, it was just a little short and a little bit to the left, or a little bit to the right, whatever. So something an NFL kicker can clean up. Well, then they send the offense out through a real quick pass with 5 seconds left. Clock goes down to like 2 seconds or whatever. Still a 64-yard field goal because the pass went out of bounds. Bad snap. Hold was salvaged as best as it could be, but still was not a very good hold. And it was the one of the worst kicks I've seen in the NFL in a long time. Went about 30 yards, but only made it about 10 feet off the ground, and went like that direction instead of that direction. It reminds me of quick anecdote. So my daughter and I used to love to play FIFA Volta. They have a mode on there called Volta, which is basically like street soccer, and it's like 3-on-3 or 4-on-4, and you play like on a basketball court or whatever. And we were playing online against these people, and she was the goalie, and I said, hey, I was sitting right next to her, and I said, hey, pass me the ball. And I don't know what she did, but her character like took the ball, and it just went straight right angle out of bounds, and to the point to where she was dying laughing, and I was dying laughing, and we lost the game because we couldn't focus after that. That's what that kick reminded me of, was my daughter's FIFA character glitching on Volta. But I don't blame the kicker. And I feel like I defend kickers a lot. I grew up playing soccer. I played my entire life, so I feel like it's my duty to do this. But they get a lot of hate, but there's so many variables. I think last week I compared it to, a sharpshooter, and what they have to deal with, so in the conditions. But except, this isn't life or death. This is just much more important than that. Yeah. So I mean, I hate it for them, but as a fan, a neutral fan wanting to just see an exciting game, it was like, well, that's a sucky way for it to end. So I don't know if you got to watch that one at all, but
yeah, I was watching some of it. It was it was on while we were recording, and just as we were getting off is kind of when it ended. So I saw a little bit of it, but I don't think I saw the kick. I think I must have looked away or something. So
yeah, well, like I said, it was you didn't miss much. So all right, so we are not going to talk about this game yet. We're going to talk about this at the end. But the last game, the Saints went to Carolina and won 17-7. That's all I'm going to say for now, because I want us to go to next week, run through real quick the schedule for next week, and then Quacker and I are going to circle back and talk for a minute about the Saints and what we saw. So to start us off next week, we have the Jets at the Patriots on Thursday night. Surprisingly enough, I expect this to be a close-ish game, that the Patriots win by 10, 12 points. But the Jets have been competitive in a lot of their games. I do not expect that they will win it, but I do expect them to be competitive. And then,
Did you see the Patriots uniforms for tomorrow night?
Yeah. So that's part of the Rivals package. And so I saw like the NFL released like two pictures of each of the 8 uniforms before the season, but I saw what they released this week, and they're like 7 or 8 pictures, and I like them a lot better than I did from the 2 promotional pictures. So they're pretty neat uniforms. I really wish that these teams would keep these uniforms as like a once a year uniform that they wear.
Yeah.
But the NFL is so
Yeah,
weird.
that one's clean. I really like that one.
Yeah, the NFL is just so weird about their uniform rules, although they are slowly relaxing their standards a little bit year by year. And then this is a shame, all right? So we've got a game in Madrid. I don't know if this is the first game in Spain, but if it's not the first game, it's one of the few that we've had in Spain. Okay. Yeah, so I know. I mean, we've had several in London, and I know we've had some in Germany and a couple other places. But Madrid's a cool place for them to do it. I am assuming they are playing at Real Madrid's stadium, but I don't know that for certain.
Santiago Bernabeu.
Hold on one second. Let me tell you if that's it. That may be hold on one second. Yep, that's it. Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's the one I thought it was, but there's another team in Madrid, but I figured it'd be that one because that's a bigger stadium. So, yeah, that's really cool. But what's unfortunate is that it's the 3-7 Commanders being hosted by the 3-7 Dolphins. So that sucks, but it is cool.
That's going to get a win.
Yeah, that's right. Well, what sucks about it is all of the Spanish patrons are going to get treated to probably not a very good game because you have the Russian stacking doll against the backup quarterback. So, all right. Then a game that Quacker and I will be following with close interest. It is the 5-5 Panthers going to Atlanta to play the 3-6 Falcons. And obviously, even though the Saints have about a 0.5% chance of making the playoffs, we need the Falcons to win this game because if nothing else, I don't want to finish last in the division. So,
I'm hoping both teams lose.
Well, that's the thing, and we've talked about this a lot. So for 99%, if you're a normal Saints fan, you hate the Falcons the most. I'm a weird Saints fan in that while I know that the tradition is that we are supposed to, by birth, hate the Falcons the most, by the time I was old enough to pay attention to the whole thing was like, even no matter how good the Saints were, they would always lose at least one game to the Falcons every year. Well, a lot of my life, the Saints have been better than the Falcons. So while there have definitely been some years where the Falcons were better, they split the series, a lot of my like football paying attention life, that's a terrible way to say that, I haven't experienced that. Therefore, while I hate the Falcons because I'm supposed to, I hate the Panthers and the Bucks way more. So now Quacker and I disagree on that because Quacker's a normal Saints fan. I'm a weird Saints fan, and I admit that. It's fine. But yes, so in this instance, I will be cheering for them. However, in the next game at Orchard Park, the Bills are hosting the Bucks, a game I will not be cheering for our division rival because they are playing the Bills, and I like Josh Allen. But that'll be a good game. That's 2 6-3 teams. Of course, I thought the Chargers and Steelers was going to be a great game, and it was just super weird. So the Texans are going to Tennessee. You could probably just chalk that up as a win. Tennessee. The fact that Tennessee has a win, I feel like, is a victory for the season for them. And I think that's all we need to say about them. All right. This next game's got some juice, and this is a game I will be watching, not for any playoff implications, not for anything like that. It's the Bears going to the Vikings. Period. Like, I just want to see that. And these teams are pretty even. The Vikings are 6-3. The Vikings are 4-5, and the Bears are 6-3. But when you go back and look at their schedules, they're pretty even. The Vikings have had a considerably harder schedule than the Bears thus far. Now, being that they're in the same division, they will wind up having a fairly equitable schedule by the end of the season. But to this point, the Vikings have had a little tougher road. So I expect that to be a good game. And division games are weird. You never know what's going to happen. And then the weirdest team in the league will play like they're the best team in the league, and then play like they're the worst team in the league, and then they'll play one of the best teams in the league, and they'll both look terrible. And that is the Packers are headed to the coachless New York Giants. All signs should point to the Packers winning this game because the Packers have lost 2 in a row. But they are a 6.5 point favorite. Obviously, they're 5-3, and the Giants are 2-8. But the Packers have lost 2 in a row. The Giants don't have a coach. This doesn't set up well for the Giants. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
There's a chance we could see famous Jameis playing starting in this game. I forgot to mention it in the news and notes, but Jackson Dart. I don't remember if it was concussion or what it was, but there was a chance that if he's not cleared to play by Sunday, they won't play Russell. They're going to play Jameis. So
nice. Well, that'd be cool.
If that happens, who knows what's going to happen in this game?
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously. All right, and then the Bengals are going to the Steelers, and then the Chargers are headed to the Jags. That is that's it for the early window. So to start the 4:05 window, the Seahawks are going to the Rams. That will be an excellent game. Division game. They're both 7-2. Rams are 3-1 at home, and the Seahawks are 4-0 on the road. So expect this to be a really good game. And the Rams are getting a point for this because they have a 3.5 point. They're 3.5 point favorites, and you get 2.5 for being at home. So, yeah, I mean, I think the odds makers feel about the same way as most of us do. This should be an excellent game. And then to square off the NFC West in an all division weekend, the Niners are headed to Arizona. I feel like, to me, the Cardinals are kind of trending down. I mean, they're only 3-6, so it's not like they were flying high. But San Francisco, look for them to win this game. Both of those games are at 4:05. And then the 25, so 425/325 games, the Ravens are headed to the Browns. So the old Browns are going to the new Browns. You have to be a certain age to get that. The Chiefs are headed to the Broncos. Should be a good game. And the Broncos are 5-0 at home this year. So this should be a really good game. The Chiefs have been playing a whole lot better as of late. So expect this one to get a little funny and wild. And then to close out Sunday play, the Lions are headed to the Eagles. So for the second straight week, the Eagles are playing a top team in primetime. So this should be, we've got a marquee game in all three windows on Sunday, which is really exciting. And then we have the game in Spain before the three windows. So for whatever that's worth, don't watch that game. Go to church.
At the beginning of the season, that was probably an enticing matchup.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah,
but because of injuries and just poor play on the Dolphins' part, now it's just like, wow, we keep sending our worst teams.
Yep. No, I agree. So then Monday evening, the Cowboys are headed to the Raiders. Talk about a game that looked different at the beginning of the season. The Cowboys are 3-5-1, and the Raiders are 2-7. So get this, okay? Yeah, I know. I know what you just reacted to. So the Cowboys are 3-5-1. The Raiders are 2-7, and you can get tickets as low as
$301.
$301.
$301.
Let's contrast that by if you
To watch
if you leave
to
Las
watch
Vegas
non-winning football.
to if you leave Las Vegas to go watch the 2-7 Browns host the 4-5 Ravens with Lamar Jackson, you can get tickets as low as $10. So
For 15, they'll let you play.
they might. But I mean, here's the thing. I mean, Las Vegas, I would imagine absolutely nothing is cheap. And then when it comes to the Cowboys, I mean, they're going to draw a crowd no matter how good they are. So, excuse me. And then the Colts and the Saints are off this week. Real quick before we talk about the Saints game and then get out of here. So this morning at work, we were having a meeting, and I have this coworker who is a very intelligent guy. He's about to finish his PhD. But he was talking to us, and he was telling us this story about his friend who went viral. He's a big Colts fan. Now, let me tell you about this friend I have who's telling the story. He was a very, very talented college tennis player, and he's a big Georgia Bulldogs fan. And I think he watches the NFL, but I don't think he cares about the NFL nearly as much. But he's not like sports dumb, but he's also not like when it comes to the NFL, he's a little bit more, blasé. Well, he's telling this story, and he was talking about these prize packs. You pay whatever, and then you get one of these jerseys or whatever. And he said, yeah, he thought he was going to get like some receiver or Indiana Jones, their quarterback. And he said it like dead serious. And, this is the other part of this. This guy's 29, 30. He just turned 30. Does not watch movies, has never seen Indiana Jones because I quote it like every day. And he's like, what is that? What are you saying? So he said Indiana Jones. Nobody caught it. And I'm over in the corner snickering because he was trying to say Indianapolis's quarterback Jones, but he said Indiana Jones, and I just felt like a little kid. I almost had to walk out of the meeting because I was like, this. But I just thought that was great. And he's not listening, but if you are listening, I love you. I'm not going to say your name. That was a great story. I'm glad you did it because I will remember it forever. All right, so with all of that down, let's circle back to, and we're not going to spend a ton of time on this. We're going to get out of here pretty quick, but we have not had but one other opportunity to do this year, and that is to talk about the Saints winning a game. So on Sunday morning, I had a buddy of mine who's he's about 10 or 12 years younger than me, and he's in a Survivor League, and he said, hey. And he's real sensitive to he's not like, he knows I'm a Saints fan, and he was just like, just give me your honest opinion. He's like, should I take the Panthers over the Saints? And then he listed like 3 different games, and they were all very similar scenarios. One of them was the Seahawks game. One of them was the Saints Panthers. And I said, I'd probably take the Panthers to beat the Saints, but division games are weird, man. And he's like, yeah, that's what I'm worried about too. And so we talked for like 10 minutes about it, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I'd probably pick the Saints to lose, and he did, and the Saints won. So sad for him, happy for – and that's the Steelers fan, by the way, so he didn't have a good Sunday in the NFL. But sad for him, happy for us. So let's not bury the lead. Obviously, they won the game. It's not like they looked incredible. Kamara looked better as the game went on. Olave obviously looked good. Went to the injury tent again, which, in other news, water is wet. But I think he's okay. So Shuck was 19 of 27 for 282 and 2 touchdowns. Now, I couldn't get to my phone because my phone was like I set my phone in the kitchen and came to sit down and watch the game. And either at the end of the first quarter, like middle of the second quarter, they showed Shuck's numbers. And he was like, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like 5 of 7 for 180 yards or something. I was like, that is the weirdest stat line. Now, obviously, it evened out. Like, he threw a lot more completions and a lot fewer yards down the stretch. But Quacker, you and I talked about this a little bit. I want to focus on Shuck because the team is what it is. Like, they beat a team that is a division team. They had a good game plan. Happy for everyone involved. But the story here and the question here is Shuck. Now, you and I both talked about Matt Moscona, and the clip that you sent me about him saying Moscona basically said, and Moscona, he's not a beat reporter, but he covers LSU and the Saints, so Louisiana sports, and he's very knowledgeable and pretty well connected. So he's pretty even in terms, like, he's not a super biased. I'm not an LSU fan, but I like him because I feel like he's gonna give a pretty clear-headed answer, whereas most people who cover a specific team, it's hard for them to take those glasses off. So I like listening to Moscona, and so I was glad you sent that to me. But he said, and I want to be clear about this because and do him justice, he said he saw enough in the game to believe that Shuck could be the franchise quarterback. Now, what he did not say was that he saw enough that Shuck could be the greatest of all time, or a Hall of Famer, or the next Drew Brees. And I feel like a lot of times when people hear franchise quarterback, that's what they think. No, Dak Prescott's a franchise quarterback. Now, Dak Prescott may not be a perfect comp because he's probably close to being on a Hall of Fame track, but he's gonna be a fringe guy. Other fringe guys like Eli Manning, franchise quarterback. So Matt Ryan's going to be a fringe guy. I know that's a hot topic. Some people believe he should be in for sure. Some people believe he shouldn't. But he was a franchise quarterback, no question about it. Matthew Stafford, franchise quarterback. Jared Goff, franchise quarterback. Goff probably won't be in the Hall of Fame. Matthew Stafford, now that he has a ring, likely will be. But who knows? But my point is, I want to clarify that on behalf of Moscona because he wasn't trying to over sensationalize it, and you and I talked a little bit, Quacker, during the game, and then after you sent me that clip, I felt like I saw enough to build off of. Like, he definitely made some rookie mistakes, but he's a rookie, and that's okay. And
a rookie making a second start.
Yeah. And he's on the road, you know what I mean? And so, I mean, it's okay for rookies to make rookie mistakes. So he wasn't perfect by any stretch, and he made some bad reads. And I will tell you that beautiful pass that he threw to Olave for like 70 yards or whatever it was, that was a great pass. It was not a good decision because the coverage was there, and until Olave got away with a little bit of pushing, which all the offensive guys do that. So I'm not like, it's just, but there was a little bit of offensive pass interference. But had the corner not fallen down, that's probably incomplete. So, yes, great throw, great catch, great touchdown. Not a great decision. But he did make a lot of really good decisions. And so I felt really encouraged by that. Do I feel like beating the Panthers with a quarterback in his second start ever is the start of the next great run for the Saints? I don't. But Rattler, and it's not all Rattler's fault. We have gone over this and over this and over this, and I think this year he was largely responsible for 2 of the losses that he started. But Chuck has started 2 games, and he's 1-1 in his starts. Okay, so Rattler got 8 tries. Well, 7.5, I guess technically, because he came out at halftime of the 8th game. And in those 8 tries, he was 1-7. Shuck is 1-1. So we talk about
he
this.
also got 6 or 7 last year too. So,
well, yeah, he didn't have any wins last year, and so
yeah.
So if you go back to last year, he's 1 and whatever. I mean, 1 and 12, 13. I don't know because I don't know how many games he started last year, but you're right. So. Now, I will say that obviously last year he was a 5th-round pick rookie. under an interim regime for a lot of that time. However, that's your point is still valid. So, last thing I'm going to say, and then I'll let you kind of give your thoughts. I really still want to see what Kellen Moore can do, and we've talked about this. I hope they give him a couple of years, and I don't have any reason to think Gail Benson won't. But what I want to see as a Saints fan, like I joked about, like, you know, the 0.5% chance of making the playoffs. What I want to see is a season, like a second half of the season where we're getting better. Because that gives the team something to build on, gives the fans something to hope for, puts confidence in a young quarterback. So, you know, with 7 games left and a bye week coming up, let's figure out if we can win 5 of those. And if you look at their schedule, they have 1 game on their schedule that I don't think they can win, and that's at Tampa Bay. So I think 6 of their 7 remaining games they can win. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying the Saints will win 6 of their 7 remaining games, but they are good enough to win 6 of their 7 remaining games, which would put them at 8-9, and I'd be perfectly happy with a playoff-less season that ended at 8-9 with everything that we've gone through. Now, are we going to get to 8-9? Very unlikely. Let's go see if we can win 5 of those. You know what I mean? So I said my whole piece, and I didn't mean to go as long, but what are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, I mean, I didn't get to watch any of the game. I was listening to it, to a lot of it. Didn't get to watch it. So, like, I heard the touchdown catch that Olave made. Didn't get to see it. From everything I was hearing, I was impressed with the command that Chuck had of the offense of the team. You know, even last week in his first start, I was seeing some stuff out of him that made me think he's got something there that they can build around. You know, he made this. He got this win with less pieces around him because, you know, the Saints were sellers at the trade deadline. He was missing an offensive lineman, who was a starting offensive lineman. He wasn't like the greatest, but, you know, he was a starter. He was, you know, at least holding up somewhat. His speed demon at wide receiver is now in Seattle. So he was playing shorthanded and was still able to go out there and put up a good game, and it showed you that there's something there that you can believe, that you can build around. I think going forward, I just want to see how the team how he improves, and how the team improves around him. I don't think they have to go out and win all these games for them to be playing better, because I think there's going to be a lot of roster changes in off season. You know, you're going to see some moves in the off season. I think the team's going to look a lot different next year than it does this year. They're going to have to. One, because of age. 2, because it's just not a very talented roster. So for them to take full advantage of potentially having found their franchise quarterback, they're going to have to start making some moves to correct that, right? To get in corresponding talent that's going to allow Shuck to thrive more, to allow Kellen Moore to coach to his full potential, and for the Saints to start to kind of hit that upswing again. Mm-hmm. Whether that's them having to change out Mickey Loomis at GM, and start fresh, you know, from the top down. When I think of top, I don't mean Kellen Moore, but you know, a new GM, a new front office, you know, people who maybe at this point able to figure out a way to get us out of the fiscal hole that we're in, um, to help facilitate a rebuild faster. Um, that's some things that you really have to think about, in the totality of going forward. It's not just the on field stuff that we're looking at. It's if we're seeing Chuck continually play well, especially under circumstances they have now. There's nothing that would make you think, well, when they have better talent around him, he's going to play worse, right? So, um, all that's going to do is help them continue to become a better team. So, that's what I'm hoping to see out of Tyler for these next, what are we, 10 games? So it's next 7 games that the Saints have left. I don't have to see a lot of wins. I just want to see that improvement. I just want to
Yeah.
see his decision making become even better.
Well,
I want to see him
good.
leading the team. In a way that makes you think, okay, we actually have something here. We have the cornerstone of the franchise moving forward.
Yeah, and I do want to see some wins, and the reason I say that is because we've been very close a bunch of games this year, and I think improvement means winning those games. Now, the first half of our schedule was a lot tougher than this coming up, so I think that inherently in that improvement, we're going to have some wins. But overall, yeah, I mean, I agree. But at the end of the day, and I know you would agree with this too. I think Matt Moscona, we don't know him. I think he would probably agree with this too, though. We've seen Shuck play 2 games, so we really have no idea what's gonna happen. But it's definitely promising. So, congratulations to our boys getting that second win of the year. Gotta love it for the older guys. They love the city of New Orleans, and that's the one thing about those 4 or 5 guys who have been impact players for us for, coming on 10 years or
plus.
more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was talking about even like Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara that aren't quite a decade, but yeah, I mean, guys who've been there quite a while and love the Saints. They aren't just players who are content. Like, they all really love New Orleans and love the Saints. So you have to love it for them. You have to love it for them. And that's one thing that I'm really proud of as a Saints fan is it seems like, for the most part, it's kind of been a revolving door at receiver for the last 15 years, but I feel like receivers like that a lot of places. But for the most part, for the last 15, 20 or so years, not quite 20 years, but I mean probably since around 08 or 09, it seems like most of the players who come to New Orleans and have success don't want to leave New Orleans. There are a few exceptions to that, but I'm very proud of that because you see a lot of guys who are successful at their teams and still want to leave for whatever reason. And it makes me proud as a Saints fan to say that it doesn't seem like that happens a lot in New Orleans, which is surprising because I'm going to say something controversial here, and a lot of Chad and I have an uncle who is an aunt and uncle who live right outside of New Orleans. He works in New Orleans. We have a lot of family there in Louisiana and around it. But New Orleans is not a city that's for everybody. It's got a very, 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 very unique culture. And if you don't gel with that culture or don't like that culture, you're not going to like New Orleans. So that makes it even cooler to see that there are so many of these guys who really like New Orleans, because it's not like a normal. I mean, it's a big city and it feels like a big city, but it feels like no other big city in America. I mean, it's totally its own thing. So if you've never been there, I can't explain it. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, Quacker, but it's not like going to Houston or going to Atlanta or going to, wherever, Dallas. I mean, totally, totally different. And in many ways, it's almost like it's a different country. Like that's what it feels like. Because it's got little parts that remind you of San Francisco, little parts that remind you of old France, or old Europe with like the big ornate buildings and all the Catholicism.
Mm-hmm.
There's parts that remind you of Vegas with the little casino corner where Harrah's and all that is. And then there are things that are just uniquely New Orleans and nobody else has them,
Yeah.
And so, like they have a feature. It's not people associate it with Bourbon Street. It's not just on Bourbon Street, but in much of the urban part and certainly in the French Quarter, they have these very famous steel balconies with steel railings at like every business, and some of them are like apartments, some of them are businesses. In fact, I ate at a restaurant before the Sugar Bowl one year, and we ate out on the balcony on one of those terraces, I guess is what they're called, but they're the way they're set up in New Orleans are very unique. So anyway, I didn't mean to go on like a diatribe about the city of New Orleans, but it just to illustrate, when I say it's not for everybody, that doesn't mean I don't love it. It's just not for everybody,
Yeah. It's somewhere I like to go visit. I like to go stay with our aunt that lives down in the area. Go to the World War II Museum, things like that, but not somewhere I'd want to live on a daily basis. I want to go visit and spend a couple days there, and then I'm ready to come home.
Yeah, our uncle, so he travels a lot for his job, but his office, he lives on what they call the North Shore, which is across Lake Pontchartrain. He has to drive 24 miles over the second longest bridge in the world, the Causeway, over Lake Pontchartrain. It used to be the longest. It's not anymore. But he has to drive that every day that he's home or that he's in town. I preface that because I feel like every time I talk to him on the phone, he's somewhere else around the world.
Yeah.
I talked to him last week, and he was like somewhere in the middle of like somewhere nowhere I've ever heard of, Mississippi. And he told me what he was doing, but I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, so it's not for everybody. And if you've ever been on the Causeway, especially if you don't like bridges, it's weird, man, because there are like emergency stopping points. Like if you're breaking down, you got to like pull off because you can't just like stop on the bridge.
Yeah.
But there are people like our uncle who travel it every day, and I think Aunt Anita, she's in Kenner, right? So,
Yeah.
But I digress. Anyway, if you've never been to New Orleans, go there. It's not the abandoned.
It's a cultural experience.
It is, and it's not the pictures of Katrina and the abandoned Six Flags that used to be Jazzland that you see on all the pictures. It is that is a great way to put it. It is a cultural experience. Go to Cafe de Monde. You'll wait for an hour and a half, but it's worth it. Go there, sit down, get coffee or hot chocolate and some beignets. Go down to Harrah's, play the slots for 10 minutes, whatever, or just walk by it,
French
whatever.
Market. Yeah.
Yeah. And right across from Cafe de Monde, do you remember the name of that church? There's a big old
St. Louis Cathedral.
Okay. So it's been in like a million movies. If you've ever seen the Dracula 2000 movie that's like set in New Orleans, Gerard Butler's Dracula, it's an awful movie. You shouldn't watch it because it's so bad. But that they show. I mean, basically every movie that's set in New Orleans shows that cathedral.
Yeah. That NCIS New Orleans show, that was like an establishing shot in every episode. It seemed like was.
Yeah, I've never even watched that show, so yeah, I wouldn't know. But yeah, cultural experience for sure. It's very, very cool. The river walk is awesome. Yeah. So anyway, all right. So thank you guys for joining us. And before we get out of here, Quacker, where can people find the show?
You can find us here on YouTube and on Twitch. Just search for Lone House Podcast, since we don't have a separate channel for Southbound. And you can also find us on Facebook and X. On X, we're Lone House Pod. On Facebook, we're Lone House Podcast. And I believe that's it.
All right. Well, with that, thank you guys, as always, for hanging out with us on Southbound. And we will have we will do our regularly scheduled Thursday show will actually be Saturday morning for Alumni House Podcast. We haven't set a time yet, but if I had to guess, I'd say somewhere around 9 or 10 Eastern. But it'll be somewhere around there. So just keep your eyes out for that. With that being said, thank you guys. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.